Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Bad Movie ASMR. Um, I know that we've been going through some very trying times now with the coronavirus and everything else that's going on, and I just wanted to say that, my heart goes out to any and all of you who have been affected by this or could be affected by this. And it's a sad time, but I feel like it's also important to just, while we're all kind of self-isolating, to just keep doing what we're doing. And so I feel like it's important for me to keep doing what I do. If you're new to the channel, uh, I, if you're looking for like your general typical ASMR, you're probably not going to find that here. I do very like soft-spoken reviews of movies for people who love movies or just want to hear like a relaxing voice when they go to bed. So I mean, I'm not going to be like clicking around you and doing all kinds of noises and stuff. So just know that I've had people message me and be like, ASMR is not like that, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I'm more just like a low energy person. I have been my whole life. Like, you know, um, to be upfront, I've been on antidepressants for a long time. I see YouTube videos with great ASMR that really do help relax me. This probably isn't for you if you're looking for like meditation purposes. Um, but I do think it's important for me to continue on because I've been in like kind of a state of deep depression with everything that's going on, and I just hope that if there's anyone out there who finds enjoyment out of this, then this is a safe place to come and um, and feel okay about it. So it's more entertainment than it is ASMR. So just putting that out there. Um, so moving on, I have decided to do the movie The Neon Demon. And a lot of people are aware of this director because of his big like hit Drive, the movie Drive. Um, and they were really disappointed by The Neon Demon because it was so different. But I actually personally loved this film. However, it was a box office flop. People did not like it. I think it resonated more to me because, like, living in LA, I saw exactly how this industry works and how it, like, this is a very literal, this movie is a very literal way of, like, speaking to the superficiality of it all when you're in the modeling or the acting industry. So, anyway, yeah. Even though I'm a big fan, a lot of people hated it, so that's why it's on Bad Movie ASMR. So, okay, let me look at my notes here on my new Chromebook. All right. So we open on a shot of Elle Fanning, who you probably know as Dakota Fanning's little sister. And we open with this like really beautiful like shot of her like laying on a couch, seemingly dead, with her like throat slit open. And it's very high class and like it looks very like gorgeous. And then we realize like, oh, it's a photo shoot, so she's not actually dead. And props to gosh, I can't remember his name. I think Cliff Martinez. Could be wrong. Does an amazing electronic score for this movie. It's fantastic. So check that out on Spotify if you get a chance. Anyway, yeah. So whatever. We find out this model is doing this amateur photo shoot, and what I really love is during the opening credits, it kind of reminded me of Blue Velvet, except it's like a purple velvet background, and it's kind of just like the director has NWR during the credits, which I think is kind of genius because this movie is all about like superficiality, and the fact that he was he would actually like post his initials over the credits is, I don't know, I think it's smart. I think it's cool. we've got an all-star cast. We've got Jenna Malone, Keanu Reeves, Desmond Harrington, who you may remember from Dexter, and as I said before, Elle Fanning, who is the protagonist of the movie. So, anyway, later, after the photo shoot that we open up on, I'm sorry if I look like shit right now, but I feel like shit. Like, the world's going to hell, so you're in a safe place. So Elle's in the bathroom after the photo shoot, and she's like wiping off all of her like blood and makeup and stuff, and she meets Jenna Malone, whose name is Ruby in the movie. And Jesse's very soft-spoken, very shy, and Ruby's like, "You did great. Like that whole deer in the headlights thing is exactly what they were looking for." So. Jessie admits to her that she's new to LA and she's staying in a motel alone in Pasadena. Her parents aren't around anymore. That's all she kind of says about her parents. And then Ruby senses this loneliness and then invites her to a party at a nightclub so that she can meet people and maybe make some friends. So they go to this like really dark, weird nightclub. She's introduced to these two like really tall blonde models who you would expect to be models because they look exactly like models. You know, they're skinny, they got the blonde hair, they got all that stuff going on. And then like later in the bathroom, Ruby introduces Jessie to her friends, and they seem kind of like, sorry if this shakes, my dog's running around. They seem kind of like I don't know, like envious of her or like jealous of her or something. I'm sorry, but this is what I'm doing because of the coronavirus. I just need to get by somehow. So, yeah, so they're in the bathroom and they're talking about like the names of the colors of their lipsticks, and one of them's like, you know, passion peach, and they all have like kind of like food names to them. So Ruby tells one of the models that her lipstick color that she loves is called red rum, which if you recall from the movie The Shining, red rum is murder spelled backward. And then when they ask Jessie like what her color is, she kind of like blows them off because they're assholes, and she's like, it's called back off. Go Jessie. And then Ruby asks her, like, because of what they're talking about, how the lipsticks are both food related and, you know, like attractiveness related. So she asks, like, are you food or are you sex? And then one of the blondes says, she's dessert because she's so sweet. The whole thing is very strange and very weird how they have this conversation, but I love it. It reminds me a lot of like David Lynch type stuff. Like they're not speaking as normal people would speak. They're speaking in terms of the environment the director has created. So one of the models looks on in jealousy, and the other model's like, "You're gorgeous. Is that your real nose?" And then she gives her a card for her plastic surgeon and boasts how her plastic surgeon calls her the bionic woman because she just has had so much plastic surgery done, even though she's probably like, I don't know, like 22 or something. And then she gets all like, kind of, this is where like the meanness comes out, and she's like, "I heard your parents are dead." Which is like, whoa, like why would you say that to somebody? Like, I heard your parents are dead, that must be hard for you. And Jessie admits that she has no one, no family, no boyfriend or anything else. And the jealous model's like, everyone wants to know who she is fucking so that she can climb the ladder even higher than me. So she's kind of like top model, and she's jealous of this young girl who's come in who could potentially take her place. But in doing so, Jessie kind of does a double take in the mirror and actually feels slightly more confident about herself because these beautiful models are jealous of her. Then they go back out into like the actual club instead of the bathroom, and there's like this like really trippy AF performance art show, which features like this woman hanging on suspensions, and it's set to great music. And there's like these like red and white strobe lights that are going on and off while they're watching. And I have to say, like, seeing this in a movie theater was amazing, and I'm glad that it was a box office flop because I had the whole movie theater to myself. I went and watched this movie in an empty theater, and I just felt like completely engorged in this like beautiful filmmaking. So I think it really sets the stage for what's to come. I'm sorry if I keep looking down, but that's where my notes are. So the next morning at the motel, Jessie prepares for her meeting with a talent agent who's played by Christine Hendricks, who was also in the movie Drive by the same director, and I'm sure most people know her as the redhead from Mad Men. I actually never seen Mad Men, but people know her from that. So Christina's looking over her amateur photos that she recently shot at the beginning of the film, and basically makes like a comment about like, yeah, these are pretty amateur, but she says at the same time like, you know, you're young, you're perfect, and exceptional compared to other girls from small towns who are seeking big dreams. So she really sees something in her. And then she tells her to get to know Jack MacArthur, the photographer, for a test photo shoot because these photos that she has on her portfolio are just too amateur hour, I guess. And so she's like, get to know Jack MacArthur. He's going to take some really great photos of you, and I'm going to sign you on. So she also like figures out like that Jessie Elle Fanning is underage, and you have to be like 18 or older, and this girl is 16 years old. So she kind of just like this. Christine Hendricks is like, forge a signature on this paperwork and tell everyone you're 19. Don't tell anyone you're 18 because that's too on the nose. So like, and you know, Jessie has reservations about this, but Christine Hendricks is like, well, people believe what they're told. So she's just like, whatever. So back at her motel room, Jessie does forge a signature, and she also meets with her amateur photographer from the beginning. They kind of have like a little bit of a thing going on, and he wants to know if they mentioned his photography during her interview. And she's like, it didn't come up, just to like kind of save his feelings a little bit. And then they take a drive up to what I assume is Griffith Park. It looks like Griffith Park in LA. And she kind of like walks around like an angel. She's in this white dress, and he just admires her from afar, like watching her, like seeing the beauty that exists within her. And then she confides in him that being on the hill, which I assume is Griffith Park, makes her feel larger, where she feels small down on the streets, and that as a kid she would try to get the attention of the moon and dream about who she'd become. I can actually relate to that. I lived in LA for 12 years. Being up on the hill, you're like, wow, what a beautiful city. Being down on the streets, you feel like a nobody a lot of the time. Just how it goes in LA if you're trying to make it, you know. So she tells him that she just turned 16, despite the modeling agency pressing. Sorry, that's my dog. Calm down. You're gonna be calm. Okay. So she admits that she just turned 16, despite the modeling agency pressing her to say that she's 19. And her photographer is very encouraging and sweet, and he's like, just do what you think is right. And he's also very respectful. Like, he's not trying to take advantage of her, especially knowing now that she's underage. He has a crush on her, but he also now knows her age, and so like he's probably like the one person in her life who actually has I don't know, like morals or ethics. Like, he has a code that people that she's also surrounding herself just don't have. So he's a good guy. And then I love like the cinematography and the lighting in this movie. They got neon colors. They got this like crazy reflective lighting that reminded me a lot of what P.T. Anderson did in Punch Drunk Love, and it's very stylish. So they both agree to go out again. So anyway, after he leaves, Jessie goes to her hotel room and she finds like this like full-size gigantic tiger inside of her hotel room. So she bangs on the door of the motel manager, who is played by Keanu Reeves, and it's great to see Keanu Reeves in a role where he's not like I don't know, playing an action figure. It's not the Matrix. It's not John Wick. He's just like playing this like creepy guy. And so Keanu and I guess one of his assistant managers or his psychic or friend or somebody go to inspect and discover that there really is a tiger inside of her room. Don't know how it got there. Then we cut to later, and we're at a photo shoot, and this is when Jessie meets Jack MacArthur, the photographer that her modeling agent had told her to get in touch with. So anyway, like we see him start out like doing just like regular model shooting with this like big white background, and you know, just what he does. It looks so sterile. It could even be like a laboratory clean room. It's very strange, but beautiful at the same time. So Jack demands that everyone leaves the room once he sees Elle Fanning, and he says this is a clothes set, and he makes her undress. And she's obviously very uncomfortable because she's only 16 years old, but he doesn't know this, or maybe he does. I don't know. Either way, he's creepy. And then he takes this like kind of like shiny gold paint and just starts like rubbing it all over her like face and her neck and her body and all this stuff, like in a highly erotic fashion. So it just makes the scene even more disturbing. She does what she's asked, but she's clearly scared. Almost expressionless, but eerily lustful at the same time. Then outside, after the photo shoot happens, Ruby's out there like having a cigarette, and warns Jessie that she shouldn't be alone with him and to call her anytime if she needs to. So she's basically like, watch out for that guy. He's bad news, but if you ever need someone to look after you, you can call me. Which becomes kind of funny later because, well, I'll tell you what happens when that happens. If you haven't seen the movie. So later at the diner, Ruby and the two blonde models are all sitting together like in a booth, and the waitress comes up and asks them what they want to order, and of course, being the superficial models that they are, they deny food and choose coffee. They're just like, just give us some cups of coffee. And then the models are irritated to find out that Jessie got a test shoot with Jack. Which he never does apparently. Like, he doesn't do test shoots, but he did with her, so now they're even more jealous. And they say something along the lines of, well, she's fresh, we're getting older, and no one wants spoiled milk. So then later we're at a model audition. We're at a model audition, and everyone's down to their bras and underwear for speculation among the casting agents to see what their body types look like. And all the models are like staring at Jessie with envy. And the casting agents really don't give a shit about anyone there besides Jessie. So obviously her youth plays a big part. And then in the bathroom at the same casting, one of the jealous blonde models like is so like mad because she got passed on while Jesse didn't, and then she like breaks the mirror, and she's like angry and she's sad, and she lights up a cigarette, and then Jesse enters the bathroom, not knowing all of this had just went down. And the model tells Jesse that she's fucking lucky, and asks what does it feel like to walk into a room in the middle of winter and be the sun. So she's really like thinking hardcore about this stuff. And then like I think like her jealousy gets the better of her and she gets really angry, even though Jesse's just being completely like soft spoken and innocent this whole time, and is throughout the entire movie for the most part. And so she takes one of those shards of the mirror glass and attempts to like cut Jesse on her wrist, and so her wrist starts bleeding, and then this muddle like tries to start drinking her blood from the cut that she just made. So Jesse obviously pulls away and runs out horrified, like what the hell. So Ruby, the makeup artist, we find out also works as in a morgue for doing what do you call it? Like when people are dead and you have to put makeup on them, I guess, after they've been embalmed. A dead person makeup artist. She does makeup for the deceased. So we get to kind of like see another side of her. And then back at Jesse's motel, Ruby is spying on Keanu Reeves, the landlord or manager or whatever you want to call him, because she's afraid to cross paths with him, and because he's like a weirdo, creepo asshole. And once he like clears from view, she runs as fast as she can to her motel room while she's out of sight and he can't see her. And then she washes the cuts and blood off her hands. And there's a knock at the door later, and it's her cool like amateur photographer Beau, who like is the only good person in her life, like I said. So then we cut to a strange like neon pyramid. Like it's like a pyramid with like 3 triangles or something, and it is juxtaposed against a passed out Jessie lying next to a bouquet of flowers. So she's like passed out, and then we're getting this weird like cut of a neon triangle at the same time, and the music is awesome. When she awakens, her Beau hugs her. I'm calling her friend Beau at this point because I don't remember what his name is, but her Beau offers to pay her rent to the manager for the tiger or wildcat or whatever it was, the damages in a room from that animal, because Keanu's like, you better pay up for this, like I didn't let it in there, you must have. It's like, who's gonna let like a fucking tiger into their motel room? So Keanu tells him he's got plenty of room for runaways to her Beau, and it's like really creepy conversation because he's like, check out room 214, there's a 13-year-old in there, like, and she's like fresh and hot as fuck. 13. So this guy's like a pedophile who houses runaways for young girls, basically. And, you know, everyone who runs away to reach the Hollywood dream, that's he's rooming those people up. Later in the makeup room, Jessie encounters one of the blonde models who's like, that's my chair, and that Jessie's like sitting in, and she's being incredulous that Jessie's already made it this far. She's jealous. She goes on about how her plastic surgeon completely changed her appearance. Also, she could wear the perfect ponytail. Like, so she's discussing how she had all this like plastic surgery work done just so she can wear the perfect ponytail. So that's how far gone and superficial these people are. So anyway, whatever. They're doing a fashion show, I guess, and the head casting agent puts Jessie in charge of closing the fashion show. So we get like these insane like photography flashes pre-show, and then we get to see the transformation of Jessie from like young runaway innocent to like supermodel that everyone wants to be. Like in this one scene, like you can literally like feel and see the transformation that is happening to her, both mentally and physically, and maybe even spiritually. Um, so there's this really beautiful montage that features the neon triangle, but this time it's blue, and then it turns pink. And as this is all going on, there's like mirrors around her, and she's like kissing herself in the mirror. So like the narcissism has really set in at this point because she's making out with herself in a mirror. So what happens next? I have written down. Jessie walks in looking like a true model for the first time. Introduced her OG photographer Dean at a restaurant where the agent and models are dining. Okay, so Jack MacArthur and the two blonde models are all like having dinner together, and then Jessie walks in with her bow, and they sit across in another booth because they say the other three say they don't have room in their booth for two people, just one. So they're like, okay, we'll sit over here across from you. Then they kind of like antagonize by asking if Bo thinks his model is perfect, to which he replies, I think she's fine. And the agent is like, exactly, Jessie personifies what we're looking for now, which is obviously youth and beauty. So I think the Beau's name is Dean, actually, which I got confused because I think the actor who plays Jake MacArthur, or Jake, whatever, is named Dean in real life. Or no, Desmond, that's his name. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting confused. It's not the coronavirus. It's just me not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. So, yeah, so Dean tells Jessie, Bo tells Jessie, I don't feel comfortable with her, and Jessie's like, so go. And she has like no emotion or care whatsoever, whereas before she cared a lot about this person, so part of the transformation is she doesn't care anymore. And then when she goes back to her motel room, he's sitting like on the outside stairs, wanting to know, like, he says, like, who are you? Is this what you want? Like, do you want to be them? Like, and she's like, I don't want to be them. They want to be me. So she's completely full of herself at this point, and she's not wrong. They do want to be her. Inside of her motel room alone, she turns on a lamp and takes it all in. And there's like this kind of like David Lynch shot point of view down the walkway to room 212 that moves very slowly, like as you would see like in a hallway in a David Lynch movie. And then so she's like sleeping, and then Keanu Reeves busts into her room and busts out like a switchblade and shoves it down the throat of a sleeping Jessie. And like but there's someone twisting on the doorknob to get it open at that point, which is even weirder. And the next door room, it's like he doesn't kill her, he just shoves the knife down her throat and then leaves. And then next door, shortly thereafter, there's a scuffle with a woman who's like screaming in total terror and horror, like something bad is happening. And so Jessie kind of presses her ear against the wall in this really cool shot and listens intently, like as this happens. So she gets freaked out because she's like, okay, like the apartment manager stuck a knife down my throat, and I'm pretty sure the people next door just got killed or something. So she calls Ruby, the makeup artist, in the middle of the night, and she's just like, it sounds like he's killing her. What do I do? He's already tried to get in. And so Ruby invites Jessie to stay with her where it's safe. Safe. You know, so the place Ruby is staying at is actually like this huge, beautiful Hollywood mansion. And so Jessie takes a shower, Ruby puts on makeup, and then Ruby drops by her guest room and offers her some sleepwear for the night. And Ruby admits the mansion she's in is just a house sitting job. She doesn't actually own the mansion and that sort of thing. So it's not her own home, or her own home, but she invites Jessie to sit on the bed in the guest room and starts giving her kind of like a relaxing hairbrush and just being very sweet and just like it's okay, and so Jessie like thanks Ruby for her kindness. Um, then slowly Ruby starts making a move on her, like you have such beautiful skin, and she's kind of like trying to seduce her, and like Jessie's like not into it because she's not a lesbian as far as I can tell. And also it's like I don't really know you that well, so I don't know. Um, so Jesse's like, no, 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 it's not like that. And then Jesse admits that she's a virgin, and this is just too much for her, which completely understandable. Like this girl's 16 years old, leave her alone. Um, and Ruby's probably like 30. So Ruby continues to press on, and Jesse has to actually physically remove her from her body and scream stop, um, to make this stop. And then Ruby storms out like in anger. So later in the mansion, Jenna Malone, Ruby, is starting to look a little crazy. She does not like rejection, apparently. And she's like at a mirror and she just writes like two X's with lipstick on the mirror and then does like a circle around it. So it just looks like this weird, like, I don't know, smiley face with two X eyes. So the next morning, Jesse wakes up, sees a pink robe draped across a chair in a room, puts it on, and then sees the weird X circle thing in the mirror that Ruby had did the night prior. Meanwhile, Ruby is working at the morgue, putting cosmetics onto a dead woman, and then she like gets this like really weird, creepy idea where necrophilia comes into play. Trigger warning: necrophilia. Um, So she closes and locks the door of the morgue that she's working in. And upon reapproaching the dead woman, she like starts to pull off her gloves, and she pulls off the sheet of the naked body and unveils the dead naked body. And she starts like I guess like mentally imagining Jesse and her and Jesse hooking up, and like so she's got this weird obsession where she just really wants to hook up with Jesse. And instead, she's using this dead body as a replacement for that, I guess. I don't know. And then she starts like fingering herself and basically just like gets off on top of this dead woman. It's really creepy. Um, Later, Jessie's still at the mansion. She's painting her eyes in the mirror with this beautiful, like pink silver glitter toned makeup around her eyes. It's so gorgeous. And she decides to slip on this like beautiful blue dress she found in the closet, and let's see what we notes say, and decides upon evening she would like to take a swim in the mansion pool. So she's gonna go out for a swim at nighttime, and she's standing at the edge of the diving board all dolled up, and Ruby shows up like, "What are you doing?" Um, and that's when Jessie probably says like the most serious thing she's ever said in the entire movie, and she's like, "You know what my mother used to call me? Dangerous. You're a dangerous girl." And she was right. Women would kill to look like this. They carve and stuff and starve themselves to death, hoping they'll look like a second-rate version of me. Um, so in the house hallway, um, Jessie is inside and she encounters the two jealous blonde models from earlier. Um, so Jessie asks, like, "What are you doing here? Like, are we having a party?" Like, very innocently, like, "Oh, I guess maybe she's throwing a party." And at which point, one of the models physically attacks Jessie, and Jessie manages to pick up a butcher knife from the kitchen in self-defense, and she takes off running. They chase her down back to the pool area. The pool is now empty with no water. I don't know if it had water in it before. I could be wrong, but either way, it's an empty pool, probably at least 10 feet deep. And Ruby is part of now the two models who are trying to kill her because they're also jealous and they want her. So Ruby actually shoves Jessie down into the empty pool and kills her, like with zero remorse. Just shoves her down, kills her, doesn't care. Almost seems like pleased by what she has just done. The blonde models also seem pleased, and so we get a shot of like the blood draining out from Jessie while she dies. Um, and then there's like all kinds of creepiness with the cool music where like Ruby is literally taking a bath in the blood of Jessie. It's just like she's just sitting in a bathtub. It's like blood red, and she's like loving it. Like it's kind of like if you've ever heard of that old serial killer Elizabeth Bathory, where she would murder people and bathe in their blood so that she could look young forever. It's very much a reference to that. Um, and then the other two models are showering together naked, and they both have Jesse's blood covered in them, and they're showering it off. And it's very like kind of, I don't know, erotic but scary at the same time. So anyway, the message is that her blood will make them more youthful and attractive, I guess. So the next day, Ruby's hosing down the gardens and plants, as well as the blood left behind around the pool. She's got like a little hose spray and spraying off all the blood. And then she goes and lays in the wet dirt of the grave that they buried Jessie in. We don't see the grave getting dug or her being put in, but it's to be assumed she's lying on this like wet dirt in a patch of grass where, um, yeah, they buried her in the backyard. So then it gets even weirder because that night Ruby's like sitting like in this empty room on the floor with her legs like spread wide open, and all of this like blood just comes like pouring out of her vagina, like as if she drank so much blood she's peeing it all out. But I mean, it's like on a level that's like, even if you drank that much blood, there would not be this much blood coming out of you. So it's extra scary. So we cut to a new day, and this is where we're getting toward the end of the film. And the two blonde models are speeding down the Hollywood Hills for a photo shoot, and they have this very vapid conversation. They say something like, once you hit 21 in this industry, you're so over. And one of the blondes is getting hair, and so when they get to the house for the photo shoot, one of the blondes is getting her hair and makeup done, while the other one's just sitting and watching, I guess, as like her friend just hanging out. I don't think she actually plans to be shot. So, so the girl who's getting done up is like asking, "You ever had a girl screw you out of a job? What did you do about it?" And then the girl who's not getting done up, just sitting on the couch, replies, "I ate her." To which the main blonde giggles and says, "Gross." What the fuck? Okay, so anyway, the creepy photographer from earlier sees, I think it's, yeah, the same guy, Desmond Harrington, sees the woman who isn't planning on modeling today, the one who's just there like with her friend, and says, "I'd like to use you." And so he fires the other model that he has so he can use these two blonde models instead that we've seen throughout the entire movie. So this, random model like walks off all angrily. So they're both like posing in these like really high fashion looks with the ocean behind them. And the girl who was originally supposed to shoot for this is the one who actually had the job, the blonde girl had the job, is starting to feel sick as they're doing a photo shoot. And then the music starts turning really strange, like womp, 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 womp. So she's starting to like, she's looking in the reflections of the pool and starting to like envision like killing Jessie, even though she wasn't the one who pushed her. But she's starting to like, the pool is making her realize like, oh no, like we did something really bad. So I guess she does have like a moral fiber in her body. So then she has to like walk away from the photo shoot and run to the bathroom because she's feeling super sick. And this goes on for like a really awkwardly scary long time. And she's like dry heaving, and she starts like taking off all of her clothes and like shooting down, and no one else understands like what's going on. So her friend like comes to check on her to be like, "What's up?" And then this girl who's feeling sick literally vomits up an eyeball, like presumably the eyeball of Jessie. vomits up this entire eyeball, like in whole, and she screams like, "I need to get her out of me. I need to get her out of me." So basically, all these girls not only killed Jessie, they ate her because they wanted that youth, like Elizabeth Bathory, like I mentioned. And then she's so like horrified by her own behavior, she actually stabs herself like in the chest. Like she just stabs herself. Like I have to get her out of me. Um, and then her friend, the one who got picked to do the modeling shoot, even though she wasn't supposed to, like has no concern whatsoever. Her face is just blank. She's actually like almost probably like excited by the fact that she she's the superstar now because Jessie's dead, her friend's dead. There's no competition. And then what's even creepier is like, so she takes off the sunglasses and like looks at it for a long time, sees the eyeball and picks it up, and then eats it. She takes the whole eyeball and just and swallows it. Um, and I guess this is like representing that, you know, she wants to stay young and beautiful and worthy forever. So she exits the scene very confidently, as if she just achieved what she was ultimately hoping for. And that's the end of the movie. Then the credits roll, and they play this really great song by Sia. Um, it's a weird movie. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. I actually really loved this movie, but most people think it's bad, so that's why I decided to do a thing about it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're staying safe, stay healthy, isolate if you need to. Again, my heart just it goes out to all of you during these trying times, and I'm gonna hopefully use this time of self isolation to make more of these. And so if you like them, great. And if you don't, I'm sure there's thousands of other ASMR videos that will work for you. So, all right, take care. Bye.